I am a law enforcement officer of 6 years. I just wanted to let you guys know that anything I say is my opinion and mine only. It does not reflect my current department's opinion or law enforcement as a whole. Thank you. Welcome back to Secret Society of Man. I'm here with my partner, Zack. I'm Ryan, and thank you for joining us. All right, Zack. So today we wanted to start out with the current politic issues going on in the U.S. We talked about the assassination with Trump, and now we're moving on to the Democratic side. It sounds like they deemed Biden to be unfit, essentially, for office. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, people deemed him to be unfit long before he dropped out. For a long time, I feel like that sentiment has sort of been growing. After that first debate is when the people that really supported him had to really admit that. But for a couple weeks straight leading up to it, that's all that you heard about. And I felt like the left side was very ununited compared to the right, and that probably was their biggest weakness. People were unsure about whether it would have been too late for him to drop out. Would they be scrambling too much? Would it look like they're having a panic campaign if they were to switch out the candidate? But they ended up doing that, and I feel like immediately everybody felt much better about that side of politics.
What I will say on that, too, that you hit it right on the head, they knew that he was fucked up before we got to this point.
Yeah.
And what's frustrating is that why wouldn't you take actions earlier, right? Why wait till July, August to tell Biden, hey, man, it's not for you. I heard Nancy Pelosi, the main congresswoman out in California, she straight up told Biden, she's like, hey, after the first debate with Trump, you should think about, dropping out. And he's like, no, I'm still going to go. And she's like, okay, but we're running out of time. So you should really think about, this is not for you. He's still staunch, wanted to do it. She's like, okay, that's awesome. But let's truly think about, you. So she's trying to be like, hey, where was this a year ago? Dude's falling off bicycles, and he can't even go up the stairs.
Yeah, well, and that was a long time ago, and that
Correct.
was the first real blunder of his was the stairs. The people that saw him day to day must have seen that he was weak. One of the only arguments that they had left after that debate was you're not voting for Biden, you're voting for the people behind him that are cognitively good and they can do things even if he isn't really in control. And I thought that was good at first, but then I started thinking about it. I've never had any sort of political office myself. I've never worked for the president, but I have had a job before. And if you have a job and you have a choice between two bosses, one of them is really on top of their shit and they're micromanaging you and they know everything that's going on in the company, that can kind of suck to work for that guy because, he is just constantly watching you. You can't get away with anything. You can't slack off. Or you have the second option, which is a boss that really has no idea what's going on. He's completely checked out. That boss is awesome to have. Everybody wants that boss because then you can just waste time. You can take more PTO than you need. Right. You can steal from the company. So I said, what does it say about the people behind the scenes that want that guy in charge? What are they doing and what are they wanting to get away with if they're really advocating for somebody who is not a strong leader? If they really cared about things being run well, wouldn't they want somebody that is sharp?
You might be onto something there as far as people riding out this dumpster fire in the flood, right? Maybe that was the case. Maybe people are like, look, people that were in power underneath them in the cabinets, maybe they were running the show more and that's what they wanted. So they're like, well, let's keep giving him his ice cream and have him sit down in his Oval Office and, we'll take care of the rest. Everyone says at the end of the day, he's the one that has to press the big red button to shoot off the nukes, right?
Yeah.
Scares the shit out of me, okay? I don't even know, he doesn't know what today is, right?
Yeah.
I was listening to a speech of his that was given last year, I believe. I don't remember what the question was. It was something on foreign affairs. And he said, he started out great. The first 30 seconds was, we're gonna give them tariffs in Afghanistan on oil, or Iraq, one of the Middle Eastern countries, on oil. And then like 2 sentences later, he's like, yep, and then we ended up bombing them in World War II with the B-52 bomber, and Jesus Christ rose from the dead. At first I thought it was an edited video. No. This was a full 3 to 4 sentences of Biden.
Whoever's watching him off screen was just like,
dude, even the crowd didn't, like, you could tell everyone was cheering, and then after he said that, it was kind of like silent for a second.
yeah.
I think even his voters were like, bro, what? What? Jesus Christ, we were just talking about oil in Afghanistan. What are you talking about?
Yeah, it's hard to ignore.
So I just remember I turned off the TV and I looked at my wife and I said, what is he doing leading this country?
Yeah.
What is happening right now? So I don't know. And that was, like you said, that all these instances have been a while ago. What are we waiting for here?
Yeah. Well, I think he was being very stubborn. I mean, he thought he was the guy. He's like, it's me, guys. Like, I'm the chosen one. If anyone's going to beat Trump, it's me. So he really thought that. His wife was really talking into his ear, too, and I'm sure that had a lot of influence. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that he had the right to stay in the race as the incumbent. And he didn't want to step down. But I saw an article maybe a week before he stepped down where they had to call in Barack Obama to go to his office and say, hey, listen, man, you did good, Joe, but, you're relieved from duty. Do you ever listen to the podcast Hardcore History?
No.
So the last Japanese fighter from World War II to be fighting stopped fighting in 1974. They had orders to not stop fighting, and since they never heard from their commanding officer to stand down, they were just doing their job. So what they had to do was they had to call in their commanding officer from 30 years ago into the island, and he goes and finds these guys and says, hey, you can stand down. And they finally retired from the war in 1974. That's what it took, was to get that guy in. That's what it was like when Barack Obama had to go to Joe Biden. Because he's like, I'm not stopping under any circumstance. And they had to call Barack Obama in to say, like, hey, Joe, like, it's okay. Like, you did good, buddy, but stand down. And a week later, that's what he ended up doing. And it was just purely his stubbornness that kept him in the race that long. Now, how do you feel, and regardless of what side you're on, the way things feel now is definitely different. Once you saw that Kamala was in, Democrats really rally behind her, and they're far more unified now, and there's a lot more energy on that side. Like, how do you feel about things now?
I think in the debates, she will easily put up an easier fight or a better fight.
Yeah.
Because she actually knows how to form sentences.
Right.
Right. But the problem is that everyone knows Trump has dirt. Okay. It's been in the news the past couple of years. He's been charged with like 98 felonies or whatever it was. But the one beauty about that for Trump is he is aware of his scars. He is ready for that to come out. He's ready for that weapon to be used against him. It's almost like the scene in 8 Mile when Eminem finally goes up there to rap and he gets it figured out and he's like, yeah, I'm poor. Yeah, I do this. Yeah, I do that. He took the words out of the other person's mouth. Same concept. Like, if she brings it up, he's going to do the same thing he did with Hillary. Hillary's like, well, he has offshore accounts and he's not following, the way most Americans do the bank accounts and whatever, right? And they asked him, is that true? And he said, absolutely, it's true. He's not afraid to say that. And that's, I think, why he won, what would it be, 8 years ago at this point, is because he knew that people don't want bullshit stuffed up their ass. They want realism, and they don't want a politician. He's not a politician, clearly. He has a bad mouth, I'll be honest, right? But, I mean, at the end of the day, I think Kamala will put up a better fight. I still think she's going to lose, though.
I was thinking, sometimes I feel dumb talking about politics, and so oftentimes I try to stray away from that because I don't really know statistics or, like, facts. I'm not really well researched when it comes to politics. I'm very much a headline reader. The average person doesn't spend a whole lot of time thinking about politics outside of how it directly impacts their life. And those are the people that are going to really decide things, because you have people on the right who are staunchly right that no matter what, no matter who's running for president on either side, they're not going to vote for the enemy team. They're just going to vote Republican, literally no matter what. Just like Trump said, he could shoot somebody and he would still get the votes from those people. And that's definitely true. Then there's the same thing on the other side. So there's people that are staunchly Democrat, and no matter what, they're not going to vote for the Republican side. But there's a lot of people in the middle that really are going to be the ones that decide this. And I'm definitely in that middle. Before Joe Biden dropped out, I was definitely going to be voting for Trump because I felt like Joe Biden couldn't even operate a vehicle safely, let alone the country. But now they have Kamala in there. What she evokes to me is like a return to having a candidate that's actually presidential. A lot of people that didn't vote for Obama back in 2008 and 2012, those same people a lot of times are really craving a candidate like Obama just because of the way that he carried himself. Even though they didn't agree with his politics, they respected his poise and the way that he held that office, and he seemed very presidential. And Trump definitely isn't like that, and also Joe Biden wasn't really like that towards the end. But Kamala, I think, is. I think that right now I look at it, and we have two choices. You can go with Kamala Harris, who seems like a responsible, safe bet. She'll probably stay the course. Now, things haven't been going that great for the average person, so maybe that's not what people want. So that's when the other option comes in, which is Trump. He's the wild card. He could shake things up. He can make things go back to how they were before. One of his greatest strengths was I think a lot of people were better off during his presidency, even during COVID. He also might be a supervillain. Could be. Because he is a criminal. He is a felon. Just recently, he had a quote where he was doing some rally, and he said that for the Christians specifically, he said, just vote for me this once, you're never going to have to vote again. And people are spinning that like he's saying that there's not going to be another election. He's just going to take power, Senator Palpatine style, or Hitler style is what a lot of people say. And I can't prove those people wrong either. So it could be a disaster, but it could be good. And there's something enticing about rolling that dice, I think.
Yeah, I think it draws people for sure. I 100% agree with that. I don't know when their next debate is. I would imagine it's probably in August at some point.
Well, they're saying that Trump is kind of acting scared now about a debate. Like he really wanted to debate Joe Biden because he knew he could, crush him. But like you said, man, I think Trump realizes that Kamala, having been a prosecutor, her debate skills are going to be
way better,
really good. And I really felt like in the last debate, all Joe Biden had to do was just call out Trump on just like a couple things, because Trump is definitely going to misquote a statistic or he's going to lie. He's just kind of shooting from the hip. And so if you can come prepared with statistics, I think almost anybody could at least make him look like a fool. Not sway the base that is going to support him no matter what, but sway the people, again, like me, that are independent and trying to figure out who to vote for. Those debates are perfect to make him look like an idiot, and I think she has the ability to do that, and it's not going to go so well for him next time.
It's possible. The reason why I say that, and maybe Kamala will come out and say, I really want to hear her foreign policy because of everything that is going on around the world, right? The wars that are going on with Israel and stuff like that. I am really interested to hear what her foreign policy is, what she plans on doing, and keeping an open mind about it. So
yeah, we'll see. So the amputation story. So this was in Taiwan. There were these two young adults, either like late teens or like maybe 18, 19 years old. Two guys that were high school buddies. They decided to come up with a scheme, which was to scam their insurance by having one of the guys take out a $1.3 million insurance policy. And then shortly after that, they dipped his feet in a dry ice bath, so that way it had to be amputated, so then they could collect the $1.3 million.
Hard pass.
Yeah.
I'm not, bro. I don't. So I read it and it said It's essentially from the shins down.
Yep.
It sounds like just under the knee. Bro, not even like 50 million would be enough for me to cut my legs off. It's not.
Yeah.
What is wrong with you?
Yeah, $1.3 million only. That detail, I think, made me realize that the real reason this failed is because this was a plan that was just born out of them being naive about the world. They're very young, and so they still think that $1 million is a lot of money. They're like, oh,
Right.
we're going to be millionaires. That sounds good, but like that's not going to set you up for life by any means.
No.
Like in 10 years, he's still going to be surviving on his disability checks from having no legs, right?
Well, you ain't getting them.
Yeah.
Because it was a scam, dude.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And then so they ended up getting caught.
Yeah.
Right. And so
Yeah.
the actual insurance payout only ended up being $7,600.
Correct.
Because the insurance company, they looked into it and it was pretty obviously a scam job because the marks where the freezing was were too even. There was no
Yep.
signs of any socks or shoes. He said that he got this in a motorcycle like accident, like he got caught out in the cold and that had to happen, but that was obviously not the case. These guys, they don't have enough life experience to know how insurance actually works. They thought, oh, you take out an insurance policy, something happens to you, then you get the money. They're still on their parents' insurance, so they've never really had to deal with
You're
this, right? Their parents still
right.
make their doctor's appointments for them.
Right.
So they don't realize that when something happens, the insurance company works against you in a lot of cases. I mean, even for a routine checkup, they fight you on paying those
Correct.
bills. And so they didn't realize there's people whose job it is to look into these details and discover scams. They thought it would be an easy bag, and it absolutely wasn't.
I just don't. It makes me wonder what him not valuing his body. Like, right? Like, wouldn't you rather try and do some gambling scam? Like, learn how to count cards.
Yeah.
Do something like that where you can rip off the casino for $500-600 and then get kicked out or so. I don't know. But, dude, you're cutting off your legs, dude. Like, what an idiot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's a big sacrifice.
Not only that, but think about getting up to that point, right? He had to have been on painkillers. Bro, your legs are turning black. You know how painful that's got to be? There's no way in hell that he wasn't on some painkillers that they probably had to smuggle. They probably did some other things, right? For, like you said, $1.3 million. Somebody needed to pull them aside and say, look, man, 1.3 mil, like, just working a day-to-day job, in your lifetime, you're going to earn probably more than that.
Yeah.
So
Well,
what are you doing?
Yeah, so there's two people involved in this. There's the one whose idea it was, and there's the one that actually had to do it. So for the guy that didn't have to cut his legs off, this actually might have been a good deal for him because they weren't even splitting the money.
Right.
He was going to give $800,000 to the guy that came up with the idea.
Yes,
So the guy
correct.
that actually cut his legs off was only going to make out with $500,000.
Yeah, but didn't it have to do with like a cryptocurrency thing? Like he fucked up in cryptocurrency and told him that he owes him like $800,000.
Oh,
Did
okay.
you? Yeah,
I
did you see
didn't realize
part?
that. No.
Yeah, so he made like some horrible investments in
I see.
crypto, his friend, and somehow convinced the dude that decided to get his legs fucking cut off that it was mainly his fault and therefore he owed him
Okay.
$800,000 out of
Okay.
that, bro.
That makes sense. Oh.
And
Well,
what a
yeah.
friend. What a
Yeah.
friend, dude. Like, can you imagine being like, hey, man, you need to lose both your arms, but we're going to get through this together. You know, I mean, what the fuck? You
Yeah,
know what I
well,
mean?
he obviously realized that his friend is a moron. And so he's like, there's an opportunity here. And he was
Correct.
probably going to make out pretty good. But I think this is a perfect example of why there needs to be negotiation as a part of like the basic curriculum of any high school, because this guy could have worked out a better deal for himself.
Yeah.
You know, if he
For
knew
real.
the concept of a counteroffer, I think he could have got more out
You
of
need
this.
to watch Shark Tank, bro.
Yeah,
Yep.
someone's got to send him some Grant Cardone clips
Grant
or something
Cardone.
like that, so he can learn to negotiate. Because the other guy, he had no skin in the game. Like,
Zero. Literally. No.
no skin in the game. Yeah,
Yeah.
and the guy that got his legs cut off, I mean, he held all the cards. I mean, this could not happen without him. He had all the leverage.
Right.
He needed to exploit that. Like, he could have made out at least 50-50 on this deal.
So here's my question for you. Do you think that they should face jail time? Because, well, maybe his friend, But I'm kind of a believer in, hey man, you cut off your own fucking legs, dude. I'm not even gonna put you through prison, bro. If you're that big of an idiot, congrats, dude. Like everyone knows your story. You're an idiot. You'll probably never get married. Like, you've ruined your life. I don't think prison is gonna. You don't need to be sent to prison for that at this point. You know,
Yeah,
what are your thoughts on that?
I don't know how long he's going in, but I'm sure like he needs a good time out so he can think about what he did.
Yeah.
You know, so maybe a year or two or something. Because I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know when it comes to insurance scams, do they go after him and punish him for the full amount that he attempted to get, or was it just going to be punishing for the $7,000 they actually did receive? Because that's what they got to pay back is $7,000 only. So, you know, they really didn't cause anybody any harm. If the insurance company's out $7,000, like, that doesn't deserve much prison time. But I think just so he can learn a lesson, he's got to face something. He's got to be punished a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say house arrest, but the problem is you can't put a damn ankle thing on him because he cut his fucking legs off. So would he be like the first ever watch fucking person that's stuck on your hand or something? I don't know. Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I mean, what would it take for you? Like, how much money would it take?
No, there's no amount of money.
There's no amount. Even like $1 billion.
Yeah, I mean, the number one obstacle is the pain. I mean, what a brutal thing to do. Because you were saying that they probably had drugs. They might have had like some kind of drugs,
Percocet
maybe some
something.
over the counter, maybe
Yeah.
or like. And what's the most powerful drug they could possibly get their hands on? I've never done Vicodin or anything like that, but I can't imagine there was no pain. Like,
10 hours, dude.
Yeah, he's not sitting there like, I don't even feel anything. You know, like that's not
10 hours.
Yeah.
What do you think he did in that 10 hours? He probably watched the Titanic like 3 times or something
Yeah.
like that. I don't know. I don't know what I would do. 10 hours, dude.
Yeah.
To sit there with your legs in this bucket or whatever it was and just watch your skin just rot.
But you got to hand it to him, though. I mean, everybody sacrifices something to make money. You know, there's people that become millionaires, but they sacrifice their marriages or their relationship with their kids.
Yeah.
Well, this guy, he was willing to sacrifice his legs. You know, it's a huge sacrifice and go through that much pain. I mean, this guy, he has the willpower to become rich in a legitimate way. If he's willing to go through that, he can do anything.
Yeah.
But he chose to do this, and now his options are limited forever. But there's something to respect about his commitment to this deal.
Here's another thing, okay? Bro says he got fucking frostbite, dude. Where do you live? Okay? What the fuck? Bro, you live in Taiwan, okay? The average temperature down there doesn't get below freezing. Maybe low 40s, and I believe that's what the story said.
Yeah, it said it wasn't below
The night
freezing.
was like 42 degrees.
Yeah, it was kind of chilly.
Yeah. I mean, up here in Minnesota, that's t-shirt weather, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, know your surround. Like, burn your legs off, or go get bit by a fucking like 15 venomous snakes that are 10 feet away from you.
Yeah.
Get bit by one of them sumbitches. Wait until you almost die when they do have to amputate your fucking legs. There you go. That's a little more realistic. Yep, me and my friend were out there walking. I got fucking bit by whatever the hell they got down there. Flying snakes or whatever. Bro, this is like, that should be on the old show 1,000 Ways to Die. I don't know if you've ever seen that.
That would be perfect for that show.
Can you imagine? That's like me, like, I'll even use Minnesota. I was going to say Alaska. Let's go with Minnesota. That's like me saying, yeah, man, I got destroyed by an alligator. I was swimming and just got fucking wrecked. And they'd be like
alligator?
What the fuck? Bro, you live in Minnesota, dude. Like, that's how dumb this dude is. Yeah. So that's all I got to say on that, man. The guy is, I mean, there's something he needs. I don't know if they have educational programs in prison down there. Probably not compared to our system. But, dude, they need to figure something out for that guy because he is.
Well, it doesn't matter now. What is he going to learn a trade? I mean, he's done, dude.
Yeah, true. I don't even. Yeah.
He has no options
whatsoever. I don't know. Yeah. So,
man.
Awesome. Okay. Well, let's talk about Mount Everest. Okay. So Mount Everest is obviously a huge, mountain in the Himalayas. Everyone goes to it every year. A certain amount of people. It's kind of like people that love to hike. It's the ultimate goal, it sounds like, for their hiking career or life in general. Sounds pretty brutal. They need air tanks. That's how high up it is. The air gets so thin that I've heard that they can literally crack their ribs from coughing so much because the air's so thin. So they have to stay up on that because once you start coughing, it's almost like you can't stop. But what I wanted to talk about is not many people, from what I gather, know about this, are the amount of dead bodies that are left on Mount Everest. Were you aware of this?
I was. We learned that back in high school.
Okay.
And it's just because if you die up there, it is so complicated to get your body out that it would cost way too much money. Yep. And whoever's job it would be to go and retrieve you, it would be far too dangerous for them to do that. It would just cause all sorts of issues. And so there's bodies littered the whole way, along with garbage and shit as well. Yeah. But it's to the point where whenever like you're summiting Mount Everest and you're working your way up there, they have landmarks, and the landmarks are some of the dead bodies. There's this one guy, his name is Green Boots.
Green Boots.
Yeah. Yep, because he was wearing green boots when he died. And they say, yeah, like you're this distance up or you're halfway to the next base camp when you see Green Boots. And he's just a guy he's unidentified. They think he's from India, but it's just a dead body there, and it'll never decay because it's so cold. But that's how they do it.
Yeah, it's interesting. I looked up a couple others that they have up there. One more notably, as much as Green Boots, is Sleeping Beauty. Mm. So I believe she ended up cresting the summit, and on her way down, she ended up perishing. A hiker on his way up found her laying there, and they called her Sleeping Beauty because she was laying on her back with her hands kind of on her chest, like a casket laying, essentially. And
she was smoking.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, hey, maybe. I know it was the early 2000s, but, the hiker saw her, and I don't know if he personally knew her, but his team actually ended up moving her when they came back to a different location because her family was feeling disrespected because people were using her as a landmark.
Oh, it's understandable.
Like, here's Sleeping Beauty. Well, no, that's Catherine.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. RIP, right?
Yeah.
Just like, so just like our alligator friend that we talked about last week. But, it sucks, man. I mean, like you said, you can still to this day, like you said, Green Boots is still up there. You can look them up. You can look up YouTube videos of them coming
they
up
moved
to
him as well, actually.
Did they?
Because there was a story where one guy ended up coming down with frostbite or hypothermia or whatever, right in the same he's like under like a little rock that kind of overhangs, right? And so he got sick right at that same spot, and so he took shelter right next to Green Boots. And 30 hikers passed him up that day because they thought that he was Green Boots. And someone ended up getting him on the way down, luckily, and he didn't die. But they ended up moving Green Boots to somewhere else. So I don't know if you see Green Boots on the way up anymore. Okay.
Well, that's interesting because I know you can look up, like I said, videos of people summiting or getting close to the summit. And, they just look down on a crevice and there's a person half buried in snow. You can see like their pink helmet. That's usually how they say, right, they find them is all their clothing is super colorful, which would make sense to be seen if you fall or something. But, I mean, what an interesting just feeling, right? You're up there. It's this is the main challenge that you've conquered in your life, but you just saw 20 bodies going up there, and there's nothing you can do about it. There's nothing you can see. I saw a video where it was super windy up there one day, and here comes a body just coming sliding down. This chick screaming, right? She's freaking out because apparently no one told her that this was happening. But, I mean, hey, maybe our guy in Taiwan should have done that. He should have got frostbite going up there. That would have been
that would have been
realistic.
Believable. Yeah.
So,
and you're right that it must be a weird feeling, and it would be especially for people like you and I. But I don't know if you've seen pictures of the summit of Everest and how it takes weeks to get up there.
Weeks.
Okay. So after weeks, you're ready to get to the top of Mount Everest. You are on top of the world. But the last thing you have to do is wait in a line that is 150 people long. It's like you're at the DMV times 100. Okay. Yes. And because there's so many people that summit Mount Everest now, that it's like almost not even a remarkable challenge. I mean, it's hard, but it's also the Sherpas really doing a lot of the work.
Yeah.
I mean, the Sherpas climb Mount Everest.
All the time.
People just climb the ropes and ladders that the Sherpas put down.
Yes.
And I really think that people who are into mountain climbing, they no longer view Everest as that challenge for a lot of these same reasons. I think that they would rather do something that's not quite the tallest, like K2 or something like that, where there's not as many people, because so many people go there just for the Instagram photo. That is just a business at this point. And some of these other mountains are not so popular because they're not the highest. But within the community of people who are actually passionate about mountain climbing, they're still equally as or even more prestigious because it's not so easy and commercialized. A lot of the people that actually take the time to go to Mount Everest are not lifelong mountain climbing enthusiasts. They're stockbrokers that are trying to get a cool picture for their desk, right? And those people are already sociopaths from their careers, right? To be able to get to Mount Everest and pay for all of that.
Yes.
They probably don't care about people as much as the average person, so they'll happily step over pink helmet to get to the top of Mount Everest, because that's what they do in their everyday life.
I mean, do you see yourself taking pictures next to green boots or something? Like, if you saw them, you'd be like, kind of the selfie looking back, like, hey man, what's up? You know?
I don't know. Maybe if I did it, maybe I would do it just for the photo.
It makes me wonder what their bodies look like as far as underneath their suits, right? Like you said, with it being super cold, the decay process takes 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years before they really start to show, like, turning, they're losing their nose, like turning super black, stuff like that. It's amazing, man. I looked up the numbers. They said they lose about 3 to 6 people per year on average. They said, according to the Himalayan history or numbers that they keep track of, so it started in the 1920s for the hiking. About 322 people minimum have died on Mount Everest.
Wow. I assume that people that do it have a certain understanding that there's a good chance that they'll die, but I mean, when you compare that to things like, you ever heard of free soloing?
Yes.
That's where they do it with, So, I mean, Mount Everest isn't even by far the most dangerous thing you can do as a mountain climber, but I think the people that go up there have a certain understanding of their mortality. And I can't personally think of a more, underwhelming finish to such a harrowing journey than climbing Mount Everest, risking your life, climbing over dead bodies just to wait in that line. And you can't even have the moment of, I am the only person up here. Like, barely anybody's ever done this before, when there's 150 people behind you waiting for their turn. Like
where are we at? The DMV?
Yeah.
Last I checked, I'm on Mount Everest, dude. You know what I mean? You're 100% right. And like you said, it's only going to get worse. Our thermal technology is getting better as far as gear and stuff like that. Eventually, people will just be able to put a mask on, probably do it without the Sherpas.
Yeah.
I mean, give it another 20, 30 years, that's probably what's going to happen.
I saw, when I was looking into this, that there's actually some companies now that helicopter you a certain portion of the way. So pretty soon, they're just going to be able to fly you right up there.
Right there?
Yep.
There you go. Just drop you down. All right, pick you back up and go. You know?
Yeah. So it's sad that it's like that. And to go climb Mount Everest, I mean, it's entirely just for vanity reasons at this point. It is just to get that picture at the top, but it's almost like, I don't know, it's
a shame.
Yeah, it's just commercialized.
It just goes to show sometimes things in life just need to be there for the challenge. It's supposed to be challenging. It's supposed to be rewarding, right?
Yeah.
And those people that did do it 20, 30 years ago, that did it really the hard way compared to today, which I'm not saying, right, we're not saying that it's not hard. We can't do it. We couldn't do it. It would take years for us to prepare for that. But, I mean, compared to what they had back in Green Boots Day, it's apples to oranges.
Yeah.
So,
you know how in video games there's there's a growing culture of like you can pay to get ahead and like skip the challenge of video games now. Yeah. And a lot of people are happy to do that. I think in real life there's a lot of people that have a lot of money and they don't necessarily want to train for months and years to go climb Mount Everest and work their way up, and so they would happily pay a company that makes it, half as hard.
Yeah.
just because they don't have the time to spend on that. They just want the accomplishment. They want the end goal, but they don't really care about getting there. And I'm sure there's a lot of disdain for those types of people in the mountain climbing community.
Yeah. So,
well, the last thing was a lady who was a mukbang YouTuber or content creator. For people that don't know, mukbang is a type of video where people will just eat on camera. There's a giant spectrum with that. But in this case, the lady was really taking it to an extreme. And she would sit on camera on a stream, and she would eat in front of her camera for 10 hours a day, every single day. Like literally just eating as much as she possibly can. And she ended up dying after her parents warned her that she shouldn't do it. She said that she can accept, the risks and the health issues. She died, and during the autopsy, they found her stomach was full of undigested food. Like she just literally ate herself to death. Before this story, were you aware of what mukbang is?
So I'm glad you asked. So I literally thought mukbang was like some type of porn.
Yeah,
Straight
understandable.
100%. You hear mukbang,
like some
Pornhub,
mud,
bro.
Yeah, like mud pit porn.
Some type of like mukbang,
mud wrestling. Yeah.
Some type of like just grotesque porn, right? And then when I searched it, I saw that it was an eating deal. And people get paid pretty well.
I actually knew one person. The first time I heard about it was this guy that I used to work with as a debt collector. He sat behind me, fairly successful guy, but he was just always kind of single and just a lonely dude. And one day we asked him how his evening was, and he said it was pretty good. I bought a meatloaf, and I cooked that. And then when I was eating it, I was watching this girl eat food on camera. And I never heard of that before. Right. And I thought it was strictly a porn thing. And I think that a lot of people are interested in this because it is a fetish of theirs. I mean, there's chubby chaser type people and all sorts of weird ass porn out there having to do with like eating things. And so there is that element of it. But what this originated as is a type of video where somebody who works a lot or is lonely, both of those things are common in Asian cultures and like Korea where this originated. There's something to being able to have a meal with somebody. And if you're working too much or you're just lonely or you can't get anybody to share a meal with, there's something comforting about turning on one of these videos and having someone eat with you and just talk about whatever a streamer talks about while they just have a regular meal. And you sort of have company, even if you don't have company in your house. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. You can see what the appeal is of that.
Sure.
But when something gets to America, that's when things get out of hand.
Especially
we really
with
take
food,
things
bro.
to the extreme.
Yeah.
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 Do you know Nikado Avocado?
100%.
Okay. So he's the perfect example of what this lady was doing, the kind of mukbang this lady was up to.
Yep.
He was a respectable guy. I think he liked to play piano. He was kind of like a small kid, I think fresh out of college. Very endearing. People liked his personality. But once the money started coming in, dude, he just took it to the next level and the next level and the next level to the point where now he's morbidly obese. Everyone makes fun of him. He hates himself. He ruined him and his boyfriend's life all for the money.
Let me tell you something. He is the definition of why there has to be a level above morbidly obese. Okay? Like he is past morbid. It's like grotesquely obese. I don't know. There's got to be some type of different name to it. But he actually used to be a vegetarian or vegan, one of the two.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Before that. And when he started noticing that he was getting a bunch of views, he was like, hey, this might be for me. Well, it slowly started to build up. He gained 10, 15 pounds in a couple months. He's like, okay, it's water weight. Kept saying it's water weight.
Yeah.
Well, that water weight turns into 200 pounds later, and he is, my understanding, doctors have warned him about his heart and other things. I mean, his arteries have got to be just destroyed. I've been to a couple autopsies, and I will tell you, one thing about the stomach, when they cut your stomach open, it looks like wild rice soup, okay? It's supposed to be broken up, very acidy chunks, okay? Mm-hmm. Your arteries, if you're super, super morbidly or somewhat whatever's over morbid, your arteries, like soft butter, room temperature butter, it's white and it's like that. It's like filled with your heart. So what they do is they stick stick like a pole through your arteries, and you just see this length of just white come out on the counter.
And that's just like cholesterol or what? Like just.
Yep, that's part of your cholesterol. That's fatty deposits in your arteries that
God.
they just push out, and it literally looks like a tube of cream coming out of your arteries.
Oh my God! They say your heart's having to work too hard. It's just trying its best to
It's
push
true,
through
dude.
that.
Yep.
Oh
yeah.
my God, dude.
So that's it,
That's
man.
terrible, dude.
Yeah.
There obviously is a huge market for this type of thing. There's huge audiences that are willing to watch people do this, and some of them watch it just for the act of they enjoy watching people eat food, and some people they just enjoy watching other people destroy their lives. There's that sort of
There is that. Yep.
curiosity, I guess, that they have, and it's like just watching a train wreck.
Yep.
People complain that there's not enough opportunity out there, but this is the golden age right now. Like,
yes.
what do young people want? They want a work-life balance.
Yep.
They want to not have to just be in the rat race, right? Mm-hmm. There's never been more opportunity for that than there is right now. 100 years ago, in the 1920s, or like Industrial Revolution years,
yeah,
people were working 80-hour work weeks from the time they were 7. You were 7 years old in the textile factory, okay?
Child labor laws.
Exactly. That's how bad it was back then.
Yeah.
But we progressed 20 years ago. It was 40-hour work weeks, okay? So you're still trading in your time, but a little bit more reasonable. Well, now, in the last 10 years, for the first time ever, you can actually have an alternative to that. You can trade in your dignity for money instead of just time. Yeah. So if you're willing to trade in your dignity and just let it all go, not care about your self-image, not care about what other people think about you, you can just sit in front of a camera and you can gorge yourself until your life is ruined, until your health is ruined, but at the same time ensure financial success for the future generations. Nikado Avocado, if he had kids, they'd be set.
Yeah. It's interesting because it's almost a double-edged sword, right? Like, I looked it up for this female that died. So she ate, within that 10 hours or whatever it was, she ate 10 kilograms of food, equaling out to U.S. standards of 22 pounds. Okay. But she was making, or they can earn up to $10,000 per month. Okay. So assuming the amount of following she had, I'm guessing she probably made at least $5,000-$6,000 a month minimum. Now, I wouldn't necessarily, that might be a lot to some people, but after, taxes or earnings or whatever you're spending it on, rent, stuff like that, I don't know if that's worth dying at the age of 60 from a heart attack. You know what I mean? Like,
you're right. She was putting 10 hours a day in, making $5,000. So if she's that committed to it, I mean, she can't be enjoying herself. It's kind of like the hot dog eating contest thing. But those guys are doing it for what, like 5 minutes? They're shoving food down their face.
Yeah.
I mean, I get uncomfortably full after having one too many servings of whatever my dinner is.
Buffalo Wild Wings or something.
Yeah. That would be one of the most torturous jobs that you can have. So maybe I do take that back. You changed my mind on that. It's probably not a good alternative.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. And I don't know how much that Nikocado guy is making, but it's the same concept, right? It's like, I think of it as kind of like smoking cigarettes or something, right? The science says like you lose 3 minutes of your life every cigarette you smoke or something like that. Well, every cheeseburger he eats at the weight he's at, he probably loses about the same, right?
Yeah.
So, yes, you may be he's probably getting more than $10,000 a month. I mean, he's
making a shitload.
He's making
I think he's an outlier.
Yeah, so let's assume he makes $5 million a year, just to overdo it, right? He's got to be at least 30 by now, early 30s. He's got maybe 25 years left of his life if he keeps this up. He's not exercising from what I'm aware of.
That much even?
Yeah, well,
that's a lot.
About 60. I mean, I can imagine that he would make it till at least his 50s. Your body is will keep going until...
Maybe if he stopped now, and I guess I don't know for sure if he's still doing it, but I think he is. I mean, it's not just carrying that and being obese for 30 years. Like, people are obese for a long time. They live to be pretty old.
Yep.
I mean, I just don't know how your body can expend that much energy digesting food. It's just constantly digesting too much food for 30 years. Like, I don't think he has that much time left. He's going to shut down.
Imagine his rectum, bro.
Yeah.
I mean, his toilet, that's the one that should be getting paid the most money here is the toilet, dude.
At least he can probably buy one that can handle it. Like, he's got enough money to reinvest back into the facilities that he needs to make it happen.
He's got a bidet.
Oh,
He has to. But the spray's got to be like a fucking fire hydrant, bro, for what comes out of there, dude. Like, he's got to have so many rolls that I bet when he sits down, he spreads his cheeks so his asshole, because you think his cheeks has got to cover up his asshole, right?
Yeah.
So he probably spreads and then sits so it stays spread.
Yeah, you're right.
100%,
So there's access.
dude. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like a multi-spray. It's probably like shaped into a C, so it's got like all these jets instead of one that just point, because it's so you can't. There's no chance.
You would think that he just smells awful, but I heard that fat people have some of the best hygiene on average.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd you hear that?
from guys that like fat girls. They say you'll never find a fat girl that smells bad.
You ever watch My 600-Pound Life?
I've seen clips of it.
Fantastic.
Like those two sisters.
It's fantastic, dude. These people literally, I've seen it where they have to, the way they dry themselves, they put a towel. They put like 2 towels down on the bed, and then they frickin' lay on it, and they roll from side to side because they can't reach their backside. And then they take another towel and they go underneath their boobs, whether it's a dude or a chick, and they make sure they get under there. I saw a sandwich that was stuck under his boob one time when he was being cleaned by his nurse or something. Dude had a sandwich stuck under there, man.
He's saving it for later.
I don't know. How do you not smell that? Like, how do you... But you're right.
Yeah.
I mean, the smell. Sometimes the smell's got to be just absolutely horrendous.
They're like always married, though. That's the thing. Is like there's always, behind every 600-pound person, there is an enabling ass spouse.
Absolutely.
That's making them pizzas in the kitchen.
Or parent, right? Or they live with their parent. Yep.
Yeah, and that's amazing. And you mentioned amazing. Like when you mention all the effort they have to go through to, I mean, just even get out of bed, like they get that way out of laziness to some degree, and addiction to, is another part of it. But even like when it comes to the lady that we're talking about in this story, like I think a big part of her motivation for why she would do this and why she would get that big and eat that much is a motivation of laziness, where she didn't want to go and get a regular job. She thought this would be easier, but then it actually ends up being way, way harder. And then you end up being 600 pounds. You're too lazy to work out, but then things become so much more difficult than just hitting the gym when you're 200 pounds. Trying to clean yourself at 600 pounds is an almost impossible task.
Well, and you think about that too, like you, I mean, let's say she did earn $10,000 a month, right? You have to buy the food. So she probably did that once or twice a week. I mean, 22 pounds of food. I mean, one meal at McDonald's right now is almost $14.
Yeah.
So you're thinking think 12 of those. You're looking at least $200.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? For one meal. I mean,
you're right.
It would be 8 meals for us. But imagine how much money you're taking off of that 10,000 just to keep that running.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, now she's dead. I mean, another one rip. I mean, see ya. But I don't. I mean,
yeah. What can you say?
Yeah, I don't know what else to say. Like,
she literally was warned about it.
Yes.
Yeah, and maybe a part of it, dude, might have been like the attention. That's got to be a lot of it. I mean, people
like public attention about it.
Yeah, the public attention. I mean, everyone's somewhat addicted to social media, and it might have been all the followers and the people that, I mean, there's people that would watch her eat 40 Big Mac meals and genuinely think that that's one of the most beautiful things that they've ever seen, right?
True.
And so to get that kind of attention, especially if she wasn't attractive to begin with, she might not have ever got that attention before, and that might have been more addicting than the actual money. People don't account for the addiction to attention that social media has brought us.
And you brought up a great point a couple minutes ago where you straight up said, like, there are some people who encourage negativity, right? So, I mean, how many times have you seen videos of self-harm?
Yeah.
And not suicide, but like, hey, I'll jump into a cactus if you guys, whatever, send me this amount of money. I'll do this stuff. Like, bro, not a chance, dude. I watched a video recently. This guy jumped off a car. He was wearing like boxer gloves and he was like boxing a cactus. Jumped off a car, essentially naked. He was just wearing boxers into a cactus.
That's nuts.
And bro, he was screaming bloody murder. And it's like, was that worth $50,000? I don't think so, because your medical bills are going to be about $20,000 off of that.
Yeah.
For the amount of just pain meds and everything you're going to need from that. Dude. I mean, it's just like you said, man. Like, at some point, you got to have some dignity to yourself. And just like, hey, man, I'd like to fit in my car.
Yeah.
I don't want them to tear the front of my house off when I die because I can't fit out the front door. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's got to be some type of dignity there. So,
you know, on social media, it purposely pushes content that is negative in nature, just because that's what gets engagement. Like, one of the best ways to get traction on social media is to have something physically wrong with you that people can make fun of you for. Like, we would already be successful with this podcast if your nose was only half as big as it is now. If you had a tiny nose, dude.
I do have a tiny nose already.
No, like just a little tiny kid nose, like an adult face,
Looked
but
like a Michael
child
Jackson
nose.
botched surgery for his nose, you know?
Yeah, something like that. We'd have so many comments about
It's
that
true, dude.
that we would already be making money
If
off
I
of
had
this.
Tyrannosaurus like arms
Yeah.
or something, 100%, bro.
I know, like, single moms out there that seriously consider, like, OnlyFans as a viable option for how they can bring in some side income, because, you know, if you don't want to eat a bunch of food, then you can take off your clothes and you can degrade yourself that way, and that actually might be a viable option if you're willing to promote it. I think the degradation in that case comes with you have to actually, like, you promote your OnlyFans to people. You know, you got to tell your whole family about it and your coworkers, you know, if you want to get some traction. But if you're willing to do that, like, you can actually make it in today's world. And that sounds kind of twisted that you can do that, but I think it's a symptom of, like, a twisted society that we've built here, and I don't think we have any way out of it.
That's interesting. Let me talk to you about that OnlyFans thing. So, do you think that, because obviously OnlyFans is more, it's like the bridge between extreme modeling and porn, right? I mean, it's kind of like in between that area. I mean, what do you think? What do you think, like, your kids would think? Let's say you're an OnlyFans model. Maybe you are. I don't know. But what would your kids think, you know, like, seeing you in the future? Like, would that be something that you would consider? Or would you be like, hey, I'm making $2 million a year off, you know, showing my dick once in a while. I can live with that.
I think it depends on your level of success. Now, I think this type of thing will be far more accepted in our kids' generation, and so it may not be as embarrassing as it is if your mom was to do porn now. But I think that if your parent now was like a super famous porn actress and you grew up incredibly rich because of that, you'd be a little bit more accepting of it than if your mom was, like, trying to get a porn career going, you know? Like, if you don't have the success to back it up.
Yeah.
And there's so many OnlyFans creators out there because so many women do see it as, like, an opportunity. But the problem is that they're not willing to lose the dignity alongside of it.
Yeah.
If you're going to do it, you need to go all in. Otherwise, it's just cringy. Because a lot of people that I've heard that are considering that, they just want to do, like, a feet video account. Because then nobody knows who it is, so they can still save face, save their dignity while also having an OnlyFans. Yeah. It doesn't work that way. If you're going to have an OnlyFans, you need to go all in. You have to tell everybody about it. If you're like a single mom, you work at a front desk at some accounting firm, if you have 40 male employees, then you should have 40 subscribers right off the bat. You got to make it known that that's what you do. You got to market yourself. Like, your stepdad has to subscribe to your OnlyFans. Like, if your stepdad isn't willing to subscribe to your OnlyFans and support your OnlyFans career, like, why would I bother doing that? Yeah. Like, that's the level that you got to go to to get it started. Yeah. If you're not willing to stoop to that level, then you're not going to have an OnlyFans. You're going to be trying to have an OnlyFans career, and that's going to be cringy. So you just got to own it, and that's how you make the money. And so I think that's the factor is, how successful are you at it? And does that justify what you've gone through to get there? Or did you start an OnlyFans and fail? Because that would be embarrassing.
Well, I was going to say, you got to take that leap of faith, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you might not know that it will succeed, but you have to put those pictures out there to find out.
Yeah,
right?
and it will succeed. And I think this is also a golden age for women specifically. You know, you spent multiple generations trying to build up this respect in society and build up this dignity, and finally it has monetary value. Like, you can take control. You don't have to go under a pimp to make it work anymore. You can just do it on your own, self-employed style, 1099. You can get on OnlyFans and take full control over it and make money. And it is guaranteed to work. Women do fail, but it's not because they're not attractive enough. Literally, any woman can go on OnlyFans and be successful if they're willing to tell people about it and not be secretive. It's not going to be successful on its own, guys. You got to have a business card. You got to pass that out at parties, and people will subscribe.
It's like in Vegas when you see the strippers or whatever you can hire to come to your hotel room or whatever. The cards are all over the pavement.
Yeah, I've heard about that. If you have a vehicle, you need to have it plastered on the side of your vehicle, so at every red light, you're gaining subscribers.
Yeah.
Driving for dollars.
Yeah, you have hashtag on the back of your window or something, you know. Like,
those are the people that make it.
Well, everyone, thanks for joining us for episode 3. We hope you come back next week. We have much more to talk about on much more interesting topics. Thank you again. Have a good week.
Have a good one.